All right, welcome back to Badge of the Bone podcast. I'm Denny.
I'm Al.
Al, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
Al,
Denny.
how long has it been since we've been sitting in front of a mic?
A little too long. A little too long.
Shit, it's been a long time.
A little
I
too
mean,
long.
we've had an extended break.
I know, and it's our fault. I don't think we meant for it to be quite this extended, but
Agreed.
There's been a lot of things that have transpired.
Well, that's what's crazy. We take a break and it's like,
We start getting busy with other shit.
right, and then we get constantly busy, and then in the world, it's just all kinds of content.
Yeah. And
I mean, a lot to unpack that's going on.
yeah, and that kind of what brings us to tonight for the first episode. We had somebody book and they had to back out last minute. They will be coming back. I think it's going to be an awesome guest once we get that done.
Yeah, that happens.
But yeah, exactly. Real life happens, and so yeah, we were talking beforehand, and what has it been now? Almost just slightly over 2 months since we sat in front of a microphone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's most of the summer.
Right. And in that time, you got promoted at your day job.
Yeah. So that's gotten a little busier.
Right. I started a day job.
Right.
We had vacation. I was overseas for a little bit, and a couple vacations, and
yeah, we've been going down to North Carolina. We, as we bought some property down there, so
yeah,
we have been going and kind of checking that out and working on what kind of plans we have in store for that. But we've made some trips down there, and it's
been one thing after another. And of course, we both still have kids under the roof, so
Yep. So,
but all kinds of things have happened. It has been a jam-packed news cycle since we last sat at a microphone.
It really has, and it feels like, where do you even start? And I don't even know that we can go back and really rehash everything.
Okay.
Get it all,
I know where I want to start.
Okay, great.
I'm going to start with something our friend Greg, the therapist, says.
Okay.
You hit that point where your cup runneth over.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And we've both been there. Arguably, I'm still there. But from a news cycle standpoint, my cup runneth over.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I don't think we can ignore, the killing of Charlie Kirk.
No.
Yeah.
But that contributes to the cup running over.
It does. I mean, that assassination, we certainly can't ignore that. That has been a huge event that has taken a lot of media, a lot of attention, and it's really generated just a lot of shit.
And it's spun off in some weird ways.
It has. It's really unfortunate, regardless of what anybody thinks about Charlie Kirk.
Well, like the guy, dislike the guy. This is not how we solve our problems.
It's really not. But he's a father. He's a husband.
Mm-hmm.
He's an American.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fellow citizen.
And this is not how we solve our problems.
It is not. And I watched a lot of his stuff on YouTube. I mean, I just found it interesting. And I can't say that I agreed with every position that he came up with. There's a lot that I did. I mean, there's a lot that he said that I thought was right on point. And there's some of the things that I wasn't quite what I agreed with, but I always felt like he was knowledgeable and he presented an argument from a position of having some knowledge base and having some thought, some personal thought. He just didn't throw something out there
or more importantly, we're going to have a discussion.
Right.
You may not
Right.
like my position, I may not like your position, but we're going to have a discussion. And I got to thinking because, we have talked throughout our show about the different sources of stress,
Yep. Yep.
things that impact upon us, that cause us personal stress, that strain our relationships, that can impact on our job, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and one thing I'm not sure that we have spoken about has been the media, the news cycle. And when I say the media, I don't mean we're talking about cop stuff, not like 2020 stuff. I mean
Sure.
stuff that does not directly relate to us professionally, but stuff that is just noise in our lives, right?
Right. Right.
And I started to find that stuff, you know, it has stressed me for a long time. But I think recently, and I think that the real kicker was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That I looked around me and was like, all I got to do is open up like Facebook or something, and I go, we have all lost our effing minds.
Yeah. It's
We've lost our minds, and I don't even have to go very far outside of my personal circle and go, we've we've lost our minds, and I'm talking on both sides of the fence. I'm.
well. It's unfortunately, and I know we've talked about it before about being very divided and politically everything's very divided. But it's become now so visceral, and it's not getting any better.
it-
Um,
it's gotten so bad that were it not for the fact that I use it to keep up with people I genuinely care about, and I of course use it for what we do. I,
right.
I was
Right.
I was ready to like shit can all my social media because I'm like I can't read
Yeah,
this
I
crap
can't. I
anymore.
can't do it. I can't read the junk on there. And
It was really stressing me out.
well, it's hateful things. It's mean spirited
Or it's just out there.
ignorance,
It's
just
just
total
out there.
ignorance. A
Well,
lot of it's just total ignorance.
just out there
Um,
stuff that just I'm like,
and some stuff is just to provoke a confrontation.
yeah,
So there's a lot of that out there, and I'm too old for that shit. I don't want to get provoked to a confrontation about something.
no, and
I
look,
don't mind debating somebody. I don't mind
no, no, not at all.
giving my 2 cents worth. I don't mind you picking a topic and I'll opine. But I don't want to get into this nastiness where just because I don't agree with you now you want to be ugly about it. Okay, whatever.
But
I don't give a shit if you don't like what I like or don't think what I think. But if you ask me, I will tell you what I think.
but the number of people too, and this is where I start to get really concerned, is there was a poll out there, and this is what I get for coming into a recording, not as prepared as I would like.
It's you know
But was it? I think it was Pew Research. It was just within the last month, and it was breaking down like far left, far right, Democrat, Republican, Independent, so forth, and it talked about is violence justified or
I
whatever.
saw
Do you
that.
know the one I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
I did, and
And that Democrats were overrepresented. I'm sorry,
yeah, I
but
mean,
Republicans were not absent either.
correct, correct.
So it in amongst Gen Z, it was worse.
And to me, that's frightening. I If you go back again, if we you talk about Charlie Kirk, that is frightening to me that any individual can travel and spark debate, spark conversation, and people that may not agree with it. And that's part of how it is. I mean, nobody agrees with everybody 100% all the time anyway. But the fact that someone can go, you know what, I don't like what you're saying.
Mhm.
I don't like that. I find it offensive. Okay, it's
Mhm.
offensive. Too fucking bad.
Mhm.
It's offensive that gives me the right that now I'm going to take your life and I'm going to make your wife a widow, make your children fatherless. I mean, holy hell, really? That we're going to get on a rooftop with a rifle and shoot somebody? And and now it's not just that. Now you have people going to churches and wanting to
Mhm.
exact violence there because they don't agree with the church. I mean,
I stopped counting at the number of instances that have occurred since we last sat here.
yeah, I mean it's overwhelming.
And it I'm telling you, it stresses me out. And especially as a father, I don't want my kids growing up in a world where that is, God forbid, worse than it is now.
But how that's what worries me and that's what stresses me is the world that they're going to be living in, where this is how things are going to go.
Well, there are definitely folks, and I've seen it. I'm sure you have too. Um, that are, in my opinion, way too cavalier about that. Like, woohoo, bring it on,
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is not going to be the Stonewall Brigade at First Manassas. This is going to be Northern Ireland in the height of the Troubles,
this is going to be the purge.
or oh, God forbid, the Purge, or um, Yugoslavia around 1990. I mean, that's what it's going to. It's just going to be. It will mean the end of the country.
So I mean, yeah, and I don't know how we dial this back. So that's what's scary because I see, I saw all the terrible negative comments about the assassination. Folks that said, "Oh, great, we're celebrating it." To me, it was absolutely disgusting. I couldn't watch it. The fact that you
Mm-hmm.
would celebrate any
Mm-hmm.
human being killed, being executed, a public execution was just absolutely disgusting. And
But
then you have
we may be talking about the same
yeah,
thing.
but and
Continue.
you have that which is and it pisses me off. I got to tell you, it does make me angry and it pisses me off. But then what has concerned me is because you have a group on the side going, okay, yep, we're ready, let's go, and kind of ready to swing back if that makes
Yeah,
ready to give a counter punch, and then where does it stop?
and it doesn't.
So one side says we are being, attacked. You know what? Now we're going to go and we're going to attack back because that's what they're seeing it
Hmm.
as an attack. It's almost viewed as being this is our defense is to now go on the offense. And where does that stop?
It just doesn't.
So when you do that, and then
It's
they
a
go,
downward spiral.
and then another side goes, well, we're going to retaliate against. Where does it stop?
I don't know. And what I was starting to say too was that, like, you know, the Kirk assassination was the latest example, but I started seeing like some just really, what in my opinion were some pretty out there conspiracy theories that were associated with
Yeah,
his assassination that I'm like, I think are pretty easily rebutted, but are being put out there by um, content creators, in some cases like big name content creators, that I'm like, to what end?
so you're always going to get some conspiracy theories in any kind of incident like that. That's going to happen, and I think we can go back in history and pull up, and you'll see all the different conspiracy theories. Now, some may be somewhat legitimate or have some legitimate basis for why those theories came to be.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
and I'm not saying that this incident might not have some things that someone might pick or nitpick or say, this seems to be off or not, but I was seeing some wild stuff too, and some from folks that have seen on YouTube that I thought were relatively decent, but I started really seeing some people jumping on some really just out there conspiracy.
Mhm.
And I try to stay away from that because unless you really give me something that seems rational or really seems uh, likely, then I'm trying to stay away from it because you start shaking your head. You're like, oh my gosh. I mean, and it just spirals. But there was some wild
I
theories out
just
there.
they're coming to these full blown conclusions based on very selectively edited video.
Right. The internet sleuths, sometimes they can do some good work,
Sure. Yes.
but lots of times they're going in rabbit holes of nonsense. Of just like you say, stuff that they're getting on. They have 9% of the information. The other 91% of the information they don't have, and now they're going to make their big theory on that 9% that they have, and then it spreads like wildfire.
But I got to thinking, okay, why is this happening? Right? Why are we seeing this explosion?
On the conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
I
And
think it's a distrust of the government.
I was going to say that, but I was going to take it a step farther. And I was going to say it's a distrust of everything.
Okay, now, yeah, deep dive.
It's not just a distrust of the government because,
Agreed.
you know,
Okay, good point.
folks I was seeing, like dear friend that were going, kind of going in for some of this conspiracy stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this was the president that everybody said this was not going to happen under, right? This was the FBI director that this was not going to happen under.
And it's the same story.
And I'm like, I thought we trusted things now. No, apparently we don't, and we trust even less now. So left and right, you're seeing just a wholesale breakdown of faith in anything.
And that's a good point when you talk about because you're right. So regardless of where you are politically or which, but those that supported the election and how the election were pleased with how the election came out. Most were generally pleased with the appointment of who's in the FBI and who's on your federal agents and stuff like that. So yes, you're right. I would have thought that after this incident, they would have been on board, or at least the large masses would have been on board with, what the FBI comes up with is good investigation, solid investigation, and we have confidence in what they're telling us.
Right. And I'm not endorsing.
No.
I'm not endorsing Patel, and I'm not shitting on Patel. I'm just saying, if you say that's your guy, then why are you not trusting what he said?
Right. That's kind of what was me is folks that were speaking up saying this is the guy and this is going to change. And as soon as you had a major incident, bam, immediately they were going, they're not telling us, they're not doing this. And you're like, holy crap. Well, now you don't trust your guy either. I think you're right.
So you weave that in with the what seems to be the growing propensity towards violent outcomes.
Yep.
And violence for political reasons. And then you basically go into what I think is you're kind of at political and cultural nihilism, right? we believe in nothing.
Yep.
We have faith in nothing, including apparently our own side.
Right.
And
well, what's ironic is as divided as everything is as divided as the right and the left, as divided as Republican and Democrat, as divided as it is, it seems like they do have something in common. They all distrust the government. So, if you could just stop for
each other.
If you could just stop for 2 seconds and stop arguing and bickering, you'd realize that none of you like the government. None of you trust the government. You all think it's a problem. But yeah, they all hate the same thing. Maybe you just realize that it's all dysfunctional.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you just figure it out that it's all dysfunctional and it's all jacked up.
Yeah, but at the same time, okay, so like governments and bureaucracies are frequently jacked up, right? And
I mean, it's by nature. And it's been that way since.
But
I mean, if you look back at the presidencies, of the 1800s.
Yeah.
I mean, they had they had the same. It wasn't as wide because the population wasn't what it is now, but same thing: crookedness, shadiness, shady deals, crooked deals,
or just straight up incompetence.
Yep.
It's just, man, I lost my train of thought. It was it's really, dude, it has frustrated the hell out of me because, and then I'll just put this out there, even under my own roof, like I would say, like my wife and I don't agree on 90% of political stuff, and my daughter and I don't agree on pretty much anything
You
even
know,
close to that.
but I think a lot of households have that. I mean, and with kids, with the younger, of course, lots of that influence comes from their friends and where they are.
But they also
Sometimes,
don't trust. That generation
no,
does not trust institutions
nope, nope.
or politics or politicians that probably worse than our generation.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. It's you started out with it being stressful,
Mm-hmm.
and it is, and I try not to think about it because what I always come back to is this is 2025. Where are we going to be in 2055?
I hope still here.
Well, I hope too. But what are things going to be like? It's this has not eased up. This has been going and brewing for quite some time.
So, we're both over 50, and I look back and I say that a lot of what we're dealing with now probably began right about the turn of the millennium. And it's just been building and building and building and building.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's accurate. I think we could probably go back and probably
It's been a slow boil over the last 25 years.
it has, and then really probably in the last what 10 years, it really has.
I think it went into warp speed in the last 5.
Yeah, yeah.
It just went hell bent for leather in the last 5, I think.
And I tell you for the police on the street, man. I mean, that job now, and not even getting into the stress of the job itself, not even getting into the whole mental wellness that we talk about, not even getting into the negativity towards police, just in general of trying to police today's world.
And then going home and potentially having to argue about a lot of the shit we've been talking about
Right, and
to
then
your friends and family,
yep,
or getting beat over the head with it
and then
when you come through the
you
door.
got it on the news on the door, and you're just like, oh my gosh! I mean, there's no escape.
Mm-mm. No, pretty much unless you go into full-fledged media shutdown.
Yeah, so we don't trust the government, we don't trust the media. You're right.
And,
We trust nothing. It's a distrust of everything.
and where does that get us? Really, where does that get us?
It gets us to where now we're getting to where we don't trust each other.
Mm-hmm. And,
People are afraid to talk to certain people,
mm-hmm.
afraid of what you might say is going to.
And you shouldn't be afraid to talk to anyone, and in fact, the more you talk to people, and this is one thing that actually does help lower my stress when I get like all wrapped around the axles and stressed out at this shit, is people do not fit stereotypes quite the way social media algorithms would have us believe.
True.
I had this conversation with my daughter a long time ago. I was like, I know a lot of gay people. Oh, okay. I'm like, I would say at least half of them are politically conservative. She's like, what?
Yeah.
That's impossible.
Right.
And I'm like, no,
No, it's actually
they
not.
are.
Yeah.
They are. And the ones that aren't are kind of like, like diehard moderates.
Right. Yeah. It's, man, I remember when I was with the city, and this is, back 04. I think that was when that presidential election. I think it was John Kerry and George Bush. Isn't that who it was?
That would have been going into Bush's second term.
And I remember my partner who I worked, we were had some different views. I was a little more conservative than he was.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a big fan of Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure he probably voted for John Kerry. So, but we used to debate that all the time. In fact, and we used to joke and laugh, making fun of the other person's candidates. And we had fun with it. But he had some things that he wasn't a big fan of that George Bush had done, and he came at it from a knowledgeable. It was a rational thought. It made sense to me. I understand why you think that and see that. I don't agree,
Mm-hmm.
but we could ride around on it and debate it and banter it back and forth, and it didn't make a damn bit of difference.
But 20 plus years later, those kinds of debates look like chicken shit compared to what goes on now.
Well, true,
right? Because you're mostly arguing policy, right?
Yes,
And
yeah,
now you're arguing like, you know, whether you know this opinion should even be in the public square, or this group or belief or whatever should even exist
right.
depending on who you listen to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're right, and I guess that's probably a big difference. But I just remember how we could have those discussions and debates and banter back and forth, and actually laugh and joke about it and have a good time with it. And it really didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit who he voted for. That's your decision to make.
Right.
We could have conversations and joke and have some fun with it.
And everything doesn't boil down to ideology, right? Every election is not like the end of times if your person loses, right?
That's it's every election. It's come to that now.
Yeah.
The world's going to burn, and eventually we're going to get to the one where the world is going to burn, I guess.
Right. But and it's gotten so bad. I mean, I even have people in my life, and I'm not going to go into it on air a lot, but the people close to me, they go, well, I don't even think we're going to have midterm elections. I'm like,
What?
We may not have, this may be the last president. What? And I'm just gobsmacked. It just, but that thinking is not only is it out there, but it's out there amongst highly educated, highly intelligent people.
That's like panic thinking.
And there's a lot of that across the spectrum as well. And again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. If you're listening to this and you feel the same way, it drives me fucking crazy, Denny. It drives me crazy, and it sends my stress level like to 11. The amps are on 11. It stresses me the hell out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way because there's no escape from it right now. I mean, you have it it's just going wild. I mean, I was seeing today some news updates that they have where people are attacking ICE, attacking the law enforcement. And again, it's back to, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with their mission and what they're doing, the violence against them. I mean, come on. And now you have, and this is where it gets really wild, is because you have what I saw what was being reported was that ICE was calling Chicago PD for assistance, that they're basically surrounded, they're being overrun.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago PD said, no, we're not sending. So holy hell. So now how is
Hadn't
that
heard
divide?
that one.
Yeah, that was just today. And so now how does that divide come out? Now where you have law enforcement agencies that can't go back up another law enforcement agency, and now it's like, to me, that's like, holy hell. Okay, so now we're at this really crazy divide. I don't know, man. I wouldn't have saw that coming, I don't think.
No.
Where you're saying that we're not going to send law enforcement when you're being under attack, you're being assaulted.
I don't know. And obviously we're sitting here and we're just kind of bantering it around.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously we don't have any solutions.
No.
But I really wanted to talk about this because there were just some nights that it's crazy how much it stressed me out. Especially, the closer your relationship to uh, someone or someone's, with whom, these disagreements may be strong. Like it is super stressful.
It is.
And I mean, I'm like, I lay in bed and I go, maybe I'm the crazy one. I mean,
Right. I mean, maybe I'm not sane
yeah,
thinking.
yeah,
Maybe I'm out there.
I don't know. I think we just have to get back to viewing each other as actual people again.
I think that's an excellent point.
There's power and profit to be made in having us at each other's throat.
And there's that creating that divide. But you're right. I think people have lost viewing folks as people, as fellow Americans.
Mm-hmm.
You may not agree with me, or you may not agree with your neighbor, or you may not agree with the person that you see on TV, and they may say shit. You're like, that is just ridiculous. I hate that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But and then you go, well, I find that offensive. Oh, okay, well, there's all kinds of things in the world offensive. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it should fill you with hate, fill you with that you want to think that that's evil, or that it's okay to harm or injure that person or their family, or even take their life. That is where you have just gone so far off the deep end, and it just lost touch with reality. You can argue, you can disagree, you can, despise what somebody says, but man, at the end of the day, that's another human being.
And it's just
One of your countrymen.
putting aside ideology, politics, culture wars, all that stuff, because I have opinions too.
Yeah.
But put all that aside. For the first time in in my life, I'm actually like, man, I'm actually kind of scared of where things are going.
I would say I kind of felt that same way as we talked about earlier. Where does it stop?
Mm.
We're going to get into where now we're killing people. Where's that going to stop?
And if you're somebody in our profession where you're already prone to hypervigilance
right now, yeah. Well, I mean, and it's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I am so glad you mentioned the hypervigilance, because I have felt my hypervigilance go down a little bit over the past probably 2 years. I would say I've started to kind of wind down a little bit and started to get away from being so hypervigilant until
mine did too, and it has ticked up in the last 3 months.
Yes, it has. And I would say immediately with Charlie Kirk's assassination, it immediately jumped it up there because of all the rhetoric I'm seeing on both sides to ask the question, where does this stop? So yes, my hypervigilance had definitely really gotten to a little bit more manageable of a level, I think, where I could actually, I think one night we actually went to somewhere to eat, and I had my back facing where we were. Not completely 100%, but it was kind of turned to the side. So it was a little, so I was okay with it. But and then of course all this has happened. Now it's jumped up again. I remember we went to another place to eat, and we had some family in from out of town. So it was a whole bunch of us getting in there, and we had these tables together. So you had one side with all the chairs, and you had like the long booth. So someone looked at me and was like, "Oh, slide." I'm like, "I'm not getting in that fucking booth." So, because to me, I viewed that booth as me being sandwiched in between people on my left and right. That's a fucking death trap, because I can't get the shit and I can't get out of there when things go sideways. So, and I think I kind of got a little attitude about it. I didn't mean to, but I think I think I said, I'm not fucking sitting in there. But I immediately viewed that as a death trap. If I sit there, something's going to go bad and I'm going to get killed, and I'm not going to do it. So I'm like, I'm either sitting on the end of the booth or I'm sitting in one of the chairs, but the chairs were facing back the wrong way. So I was at the end of the booth, so I could get out. And address the threat that never appeared and never came up. So we ate dinner and everything was fine. But those of us who carry and can carry, and whether you have your Leosa or whatever, should carry. But there are times where I don't get out the car and I run into Lowe's and I don't have my weapon on me. It's in the car. I'm comfortable with that. I'm like, oh, I've toned it down. Now I'm like, no way. I need to have something on me at all times.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm getting out of the vehicle, if I'm going to be in anywhere. Whereas before, I could walk into 7-Eleven. I was getting to where I could walk in there without a gun and be okay. I could go in shopping for a short trip and be okay. Now it's like, nope, I'm stuffing something in my waistband and I'm going to be ready. So the hypervigilance has jumped back up, which is a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't go. I can't go to a movie theater without a firearm.
Oh no, you won't catch. No, you won't catch me going to a movie theater. There's no way in hell that won't. That's I'd be more likely to go to a movie theater without pants on than go without a gun. Just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. But now I've got so bad where I've got a pistol I'm keeping locked up in the truck.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just going to leave that one there. And I'm grabbing a second one to throw in my waistband.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go get out. So I got this one in my waistband. So if things go around, I got a few rounds to get me back to the vehicle to get me to the bigger one. I got away from that. And now I'm all back in.
No, you're not
again.
alone. Yeah.
I'm all back in that shit again.
I mean, doesn't everybody have a truck gun?
I mean, you should.
Everybody should have a truck gun.
A truck gun is a great thing. But
it's like the trunk monkey.
Right. But now I'm like, got waistband gun, truck gun. I got garage gun. I'm like, what if I'm here to have some shit break, like some shit's going to break loose in my neighborhood. But I'm sitting here in the garage. Oh shit, I can't get to the safe. So now I got one in here. So yeah, the hypervigilance is, I'm so glad you brought that up because this shit has all made that go skyrocket again.
Yeah. And part of, like a lot of the people I'm friends with, same for you. They're on the job, or they were on the job. A lot of people I'm on social media with, same thing. They are or were on the job, and I'm seeing them in some cases getting, at least as stressed or more stressed than I get. And I'm like, I can only imagine what this is doing to all of us. Our home lives, our work lives, our psyche,
This is a whole nother ball of stress added on to already the stress that you have to deal with.
And I think it just has to be factored in, right? And I think we're going to start to wrap up here, but I had a pretty good weekend last weekend, right? I got invited to help work security at a horror convention that was specifically targeted to people in the LGBTQ community, right?
Okay.
And the reason that I and 2-3 others got asked to come down and help with this was because the organizers were very afraid of the political climate.
Sure.
Right.
Hell, everybody is.
And they're like, well, we are we are putting this on, we're putting it on for this community, and we're really afraid that some crazy person is going to come in and start trouble or shoot the place up, in much the same way like churches have security these days.
Yep,
right?
mine does. Mine does. I'm on the security team there.
Exactly. So that's what they wanted. And so I go down there and I walk in and I'm kind of expecting this. I'm expecting a whole lot of shit that never happened. Right?
Yep.
I expected like a very hyper political atmosphere. Right. I expected to hear people talking about politics, and not just politics, but very like, far left politics. Right. I expected, just a bunch of craziness, really. None. None.
That's good.
None. And in fact, I had one conversation with this drunk dude at a bar. It was a vendor. He was drunk, but he was just far left, like far left wackadoodle, right?
Yep.
And we sat there and we argued politics, and then like shook each other's hands. And we're like, "Hey, man, have a good night. Hey, good talking to you."
And that's the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
That's the way it's, and when you walk away, you be like, that guy's fucking crazy.
Right.
I mean,
And
and
again,
he's probably thinking the same thing about you when he walks away. He's like, that guy's fucking lunatic. So, I mean, but that's the way it's
and
supposed
again, that
to go.
it's catering to that community, and you're like, no, there's actually a fair amount of conservatives walking around there. That's just their tribe.
Sure.
It's not how they vote, but it's just
Right.
it's like, don't make these assumptions. And I caught myself. I'm walking into some craziness, and there's gonna be a bunch of political shit, and I'm just gonna have to stand there and keep my mouth shut and not, And I came home. I was like, man, I actually talked to some nice people this weekend.
There you go.
So,
Well, that's how things should go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you get out and you actually engage people, it's not as bad. But we're not in a place right now where that's the go-to.
Yeah, and I wish I could say we had like a message for this episode, or it's more just us venting this shit out.
Because I'm sure we're not the only ones.
We're not the only ones. I mean, and I guess if I had to put something on it, with all of this going on, with everything that's happening around, just keep your head about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your head up. Don't fall into the craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go down the rabbit hole of all the hate and stuff that's online and those social media. Keep your head about you and keep your chin up. That's the only defense you got, really, I think.
Mm-hmm. And at the risk of sounding like some touchy-feely hippie, take care of each other and love each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're not friends or they're not family, they're at least fellow countrymen.
All right. I think that closes us out, Al.
I think it does.
All right. Well, we are coming back. We're going to start doing some more episodes. So until then, where can they find us in the meantime?
They can find us at wearebadgetothebone@gmail.com. If you wish to email us, you can find us at badgetothebone.com and on Facebook at Badge to the Bone.
Outstanding. And Al, as always, until then, be safe
and be well.